Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this episode. On this podcast, we explore topics of interest for professionals at the intersection of public health and entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Charlotte Huntley, and I'm thrilled that you've decided to join me on this episode. I'm a public health entrepreneur with well over 20 years of experience in public health and healthcare, and I've supported a lot of entrepreneurs along the way. I've also been a podcaster since 2017. Now, on today's episode, I believe it's going to be something really helpful, regardless of where you are in your stage of business, whether you're just getting started or you're an established business owner. I think this is a very relevant topic. And we're talking about embracing failure as a learning opportunity. This takes practice because, as you are probably figuring out, as entrepreneurs, we have no shortage of bright, wonderful ideas. We can't act on all of them. Some that we act on will work and take off, and some will not. So failure is embedded in this journey. So how we embrace it, how we approach it is everything. So I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can embrace failure as a learning opportunity. So let's dive into that. The first thing I'd like to suggest for you is to shift your perspective. So instead of viewing failure as a negative outcome, reframe it as a natural part of the learning process. Understand that failure is not a reflection of your abilities or your worth, but rather it's an opportunity to gain some real valuable insights from the experience. Okay? So shifting your perspective is number one. Number two, I would say extract the lessons, take the lessons out of the failure, using air quotes, right? So look at the situation and analyze it. Look to see what factors contributed to the failure. Identify, what could have been done differently, and see if there's anything that could have been avoided. It may not necessarily be your fault, but just really try to understand the root cause of the failure, because that can go a long way in helping you to avoid making that mistake in the future and learning how to, redirect if necessary. So my third tip for you is to focus on growth, not blame. It is super easy to go straight to blame. I should have done this. And it's not even about blaming someone else. We can be really harsh on ourselves. I should have done it this way. I shouldn't have done that. Avoid assigning blame or dwelling on past mistakes. Instead, focus on how you can grow and improve from the experience. Adopt a forward thinking mindset that is centered around continuous learning and development. Okay, so the next one, if we're keeping up with the number, this will be number 4. Experiment and iterate. I love this one because you can use failure as an opportunity to experiment. And you can experiment to say, okay, well, maybe the experiment says, okay, that idea didn't work. Now you know what does not work. You can recognize that not every one of your ideas are going to succeed, and that's okay. It's absolutely okay. I think of it as a win. Now you know what doesn't work. You can move on to the next thing. So by testing different approaches and learning from the results, you can refine your steps and your strategies and increase your chances of success long term. All right, so let's move to number 5. I like this one. Build resilience. That's what I'd love for you to do. Embrace failure. Embracing it can help you become more resilient, which I think is an essential character, a quality in navigating the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, because it is filled with ups and downs. So learning to bounce back from these setbacks can help you in terms of perseverance, in the face of adversity, and strengthening your ability to handle challenges that come up with more confidence and determination. So my next tip for you here would be number 6, is to cultivate a growth mindset. Now, I'm going to, spoiler alert, in an upcoming episode, I'm really going to devote some time to talking about the growth mindset in more depth. But it's for the sake of this conversation here, instead of viewing failure as a sign of incompetence or inadequacy. I'd love for you to see this as an opportunity to stretch yourself and reach new insights. So it's a growth mindset. You're thinking of it as this is a growth opportunity, growth experience, right? Okay, number 7, share your failures. And that may sound very uncomfortable. You may have even like cringed or had a reaction to that. But don't be afraid to share your failures with others. Pick and choose who you share with. But whether it's your team or mentors or fellow entrepreneurs, being transparent about your experiences can really foster this culture of openness and trust. And it can also provide valuable insights and support for those who have, maybe been in similar situations or are not there yet, but they can learn from your experience. So this example here that comes to mind is I host and lead a mastermind group for public health entrepreneurs. So if you haven't explored our website yet, when you go to publichealthentrepreneurs.com, there's a whole tab, a whole page there that goes into detail about the mastermind group. But in this community of public health entrepreneurs, this is a safe space. This is where we do share our failures. We talk openly about our challenges. And that's a really important part of building trust and helping you to become more resilient. I will share very openly with the members of the community in this area because I think that, and I hear this feedback often when I'm transparent and I share, that helps them to feel so much better. We feel so much, the connection is much tighter and the trust is absolutely nurtured and we continue to trust even more. So I'm loving how that community grows, but that goes along really well with what we're talking about here in sharing your failures. You don't necessarily need to post on social media about all your failures, or you don't need to tell everyone because not everyone is going to listen or everyone's ready to hear that. But I think in the right aspect, in the right community with people that can help you reframe and can learn from that and in a right setting, this can be very beneficial in helping you embracing failure as a learning opportunity. Okay. Let's see, what number are we on? Okay, let's go. This is number 8. Celebrate progress. Now, I love this one because even in the face of failure, it's important to acknowledge and celebrate the progress you've made. Maybe it's recognizing the effort and the courage that it took to pursue your goals, because that's huge. There are people who can judge you, and they will, but you can beat yourself up about what could have happened and never trying, but always give yourself so much more grace and give yourself credit for having the courage to step out and try, to give it that effort. It takes a tremendous amount of effort and courage to step out and try. So embracing or celebrating progress is really important. I think that it also helps you in that sort of building the momentum to go forward. That's just a good one. I think kind of going back to our mastermind group, it's very intentional, but we have a culture of celebrating wins. And my coach does this with myself and the group that I'm in, but I do this with our mastermind group. We celebrate the wins, and it helps us to see, because it's easy for us to go on to the next project, or we fail and we're thinking, oh, we beat ourselves up, and there's just crazy conversation that happens in our head about how we missed this and how we should have done that and all the blame and everything that comes up. And we really need to celebrate this progress, whether it's with other people or just with ourselves. We need to be able to do that and create that culture of celebrating our wins, as well as, okay, well, that didn't work, but why? And celebrate, like I said, the effort, the energy, the courage to step out and give it a try. So we are I'm trying to look at my notes and trying to stay on point, but I get excited about these topics and I keep thinking of all the examples that I want to keep sharing with you, but I have nice notes here. So I'm going to stick to my notes. So this is number 9. Okay. So we're at number 9. Stay persistent. Remember that failure is not the end of the road. Although it may feel like it at that time, it is not. It is actually just maybe a temporary setback on your journey to success. And recognize That's going to take some practice. I'm just, being very honest with you, but stay persistent and stay focused and focus long term. Keep your vision of where you are wanting to accomplish through this business. Keep that in front of you and remain committed to pursuing your goals. Despite the obstacles, despite the challenges, despite the temporary failures, stay persistent. Don't give up. When I started podcasting back in 2017, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know if I was really going to love it. I mean, I thought about it. It analyzed it and did my research and decided it was a good thing to try. So I committed. When I started, I committed to a full year. I said, good, bad, or ugly, for a full year, regardless of what it looked like, I was going to stick with it. It didn't take me that long to really fall in love and know this is where I wanted to be. But I needed to be persistent, because you can get started on something and then get hit with all sorts of challenges. And like I said, the failures which are temporary setbacks. So when there was a whole lot of them early on, there were certain episodes that were really, the audio quality was awful, and the topics did not get a lot of attention. People didn't really like all of them, but that was okay. Those were temporary setbacks. I stayed persistent and continued on, and really began to pick up some momentum. And I just really learned to embrace that, staying persistent. Okay. And only had 9. So I thought I like 10, like these nice easy numbers. I only had 9 to share with you. But just summing it all up, I think that my takeaway for you, and what I really want you to pull from this, is that by embracing failure as a learning opportunity, entrepreneurs can turn setbacks into stepping stones for growth and development. And it's not about avoiding failure, because you can't avoid it. It's going to happen. So it's not about avoiding it altogether, but more of learning how to bounce back, and to bounce back stronger and wiser each time. All right. So as I wrap up this episode, I'd like you to, have my ask. So I'm asking you to help us spread the word about this podcast. It's really, really important. This is really, there's a few easy ways to do it, but it's such an important way to support us and to help us to continue to provide this resource freely. And you can share directly if you're listening in a podcast app right now. You can share directly from this episode from your app. Just share it in a text message with a friend, or share it to social media. You can share our website, publichealthentrepreneurs.com, and that's entrepreneurs with an S. So publichealthentrepreneurs.com. You can share that with someone through a network, an email, however, just sharing that our website, it would be a wonderful way of helping us. And another way, which I get really giddy about, is writing a review of the podcast in one of the apps, primarily Apple Podcasts, because that's the primary app for podcasting. But in any app that you're listening in, if you take the time to write a favorable review, that goes a long way to helping others discover and decide that it's worth the time to tune in. It's also really encouraging for myself and my team that helps us put this all together, to see that this is becoming a really valuable resource and people are enjoying it. So whichever option you choose, I appreciate you and thank you for helping us spread the word about this podcast. All right, everyone. Until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day.